Prime Minister legalize the use of hard drugs like meth, crack, and heroin in children's parks and in hospitals, and he won't rule out doing it again. This is not an academic question. The City of Toronto submitted a 153-page application, and I quote, seeking an exemption under Section 56.1 of the Controlled Drugs and Substances Act that would decriminalize personal possession of illicit substances within Toronto's boundaries. The Prime Minister's government has been working secretly with Toronto on that plan ever since. Will he, yes or no, rule out decriminalization in Canada's biggest city?
Once again, we see the Leader of the Opposition trying to score cheap political points on the backs of vulnerable people to promote an ideology that does not work. Mr. Speaker, we will continue to be there with a thoughtful, compassionate-based public health approach on the toxic drug supply, and that means working with jurisdictions. When Vancouver asked us for an exemption, we said no. We would only work with the province, and that's what we did to work with BC. The same thing when it comes to Ontario or Quebec. We will only work with the provinces to ensure any projects they have go.
After 9 years, does the Prime Minister care that 42,000 Canadians have died from drug overdose? Taxpayer-funded supply of hard drugs has destroyed lives. Addiction workers confirm that most users of so-called safe supply are diverting these drugs into the hands of organized crime. Criminals are selling these drugs to children. Overdose is the #1 cause of death in 10 to 17-year-olds in BC. When will this Prime Minister end this dangerous drug trafficking experiment that profits Big Pharma and kills children?
That question has been asked and answered. But I'll tell you what hasn't been answered, Mr. Speaker, that deeply concerns Canadians. It is that over the past few weeks, we have seen the Leader of the Conservative Party openly associate with white supremacists and refuse multiple opportunities to disavow their views. Then we saw him advocate an a la carte charter of rights and say he would pick which rights people have. And today we learned one right they do not support: a woman's right to choose. This is deeply concerning, Mr. Speaker. Canadians have a right to know.
Hear, hear.
Canadians have the right to know when the RCMP are sounding the alarm why organized crime is getting their hands on these so-called safe supply drugs and diverting them. Thousands of these big pharma government pills have been seized. Organized crime is profiting from selling taxpayer-funded drugs to children. And no, this has not been answered yet today. But the NDP Liberal government is refusing to release the contracts that distribute these drugs. Canadians deserve to know how and why their money's being used. When will the Prime Minister release the big pharma contracts? Just the date, please.
That question has been asked and answered. But I'll tell you what the Conservatives really don't want to answer. They don't want to answer why their leader openly flirts with white supremacists and refuses several opportunities to disavow them. They don't want to answer why their leader openly talks about an a la carte charter of rights. And today was the big reveal, Mr. Speaker, that one of the rights they're going to take away is a woman's right to choose. But we will not let them.